Yes, I just watched the second episode of Chasing the Sun 2, where Ireland beaten the Springboks. Okay, after watching this episode, all I wanted to do is go to the gym, and this is what I did at the gym. I just wanted to prove to Rassie Erasmus that here in Australia, okay, we're not a country full of clowns and lighties. Okay, I am ready, I am bulking up for the Rugby Championship, for the imminent visit of the world champions, the Springboks, okay? And I know what you're thinking. Wildcard, what's the post-recovery meal looks like? And here it is. That's what I ate after the session. I made that, and I know if you're thinking, hey, that's too much carbs, Wildcard, you should drink some concrete, harden the fuck up, and get back on the treadmill, okay? That is not too much carbs. Now, let's do the review for Chasing the Sun 2, Episode 2. So, yes, this episode is all about Ireland, the rivalry between the number 1 and number 2 team in the world. And I think that Springboks losing to Ireland was actually a really great moment, a really true test for the character and just the heart resilience of the players. Like, it was a true championship building moment. There was a lot of negativity towards the team going into this match. There was a tremendous amount of pressure under the team going into this match, and a lot of pride is on the line. And really, it came down to the characters. It's not about losing this game. That was the most important. It was how you coped with losing, how you bounced back from losing. And that is what the Springboks did really well. And that is why losing this match was not really the biggest. It's not really about losing. That's the biggest issue out of this match. It's about how you look at yourself in the mirror afterwards, how you find that strength, find that little bit of extra from yourself, from within yourself, to dig yourself out of the hole. And that is what champions are made of. And that is how you go on to win the Rugby World Cup. And in fact, I think losing this game to the Irish was probably the best thing that could have happened to the Springboks. Really was a wake-up call to the Springbok team. And going through adversity, going up in adversity, getting yourself into the big stage. And sometimes, like Rassie said, the players has gotten too big for themselves. The egos got too big for the game. And this was really like a reality check, bring everybody down to earth. And just another great episode of Chasing the Sun 2. And this episode started with the big bad news. Again, a lot of adversity, big bad news, which is Malcolm Marx, the number 1 hooker in the world, and possibly one of the best players. A lot of people think that he was the best player in the world at that time, injured in training. Yeah, and I was surprised how much negativity there was out of the Irish pundits, because surely people can't really say this sort of stuff, right? Like, people were saying, like, Malcolm Marx's injury was... Rob Kearney literally said, it's the best thing ever. Like, what? How do you, how do you say that about somebody's, injury, somebody's career is on the line? I really don't get that. Like, you could say that, with a smirk on your face as well. Like, I thought that was a little... I don't know if they just edited the video in the documentary to, like, rile people up watching the documentary. But, yeah, I thought that was really, like... Come on, Rob Kearney. Like, how can you say that? Like, it's never good to celebrate someone's injury, misfortune, especially an injury. Like, it's really a little bit distasteful there. So obviously it was big. This was a big loss for the Springboks. Outside of Malcolm Marx, there was only Bungin Bunabi left to be a full-time hooker, and then there is obviously Dion Fourie, who hasn't really had that much time in the starting position for the Springboks, and even I don't even know, you can probably count the minutes in 2 hands of how long he played as a hooker for the Springboks as well. So it's been a very long time since he played a hooker, and it's gonna be a big, brain scratching moment for the Springboks. And in fact, after this injury, it was really weird, because I thought that Springboks might actually bring in Joseph Dweeba to fill in for Malcolm Marx. But it seems like, to me, everybody in South Africa unanimously wanted Handré Pollard. In fact, before this announcement was even made, I remember this. Like, everywhere on the internet was memes about Handré Pollard getting a collar. Handré Pollard's going to get brought in. There was memes where there was like a helicopter bringing into a Springbok and throwing him onto a truck. And it was literally like captioned like, oh yeah, like the Springbok was, named 100 Pollard. It was literally like delivering 100 Pollard to the Rugby World Cup. And then for some reason, even my friend, South African friend, I was out in the morning run, and we were just talking about who they're going to bring up. And he was like, yeah, it's going to be 100 Pollard. So like, I don't know what's going on, but it seems like the entire country of South Africa thought it should be 100 Pollard being brought up. But apparently this was a huge surprise to, again, the Irish pundits. They were, laughing and joking about 100 Pollard being a great hooker, and really joking and laughing about Rassie Erasmus probably, overlooking his own genius a little bit, start drinking his own Kool-Aid a little bit about how smart he can actually be in rugby. And I really I just thought, it's really just, I don't know if, it just really, it kind of makes me laugh about some of these comments that came out of these commentators, because literally like the entire country of South Africans knew that it was going to be 100 Pollard before the announcement, and somehow they were surprised by this. So it was just a little bit baffling. Then the country Pollard was apparently, the phone call made to him, Pollard was apparently surprised himself. He probably don't go on social media, obviously. If he was on social media, he would know that he was going to get a call out before he got the call. So apparently Rassie called him, and then Pollard's just like, had to text Rassie afterwards and make sure that it wasn't a joke. And so it was quite interesting story there. It was obviously there were a lot of talking about 100 Pollard bringing as a goal kicker, and really just having that money in the box goal kicking wasn't really getting the Springboks across the line on a consistent basis. Money in the box has been good in the past in some kicking as well, like against the All Blacks. I'm pretty sure he got like 100% in that one, and then he starts struggling during the World Cup. So it's just really the consistency issue that hasn't been cleared up for the Springboks. And with Bongi, the only official line-out operator in the Springboks, line-out thrower of the Springboks, there was a lot of pressure on him, and they kind of went into some of the background story of him bringing up in a tough family, how his family is just like, Bongi's the one that even his mum and dad relies on. It's not just like, oh, he's just some guy that looked like a badass, got himself in trouble. His family, his mum and dad were like, when we were in trouble, Bongi's always one that tells us that everything will be fine and he will take care of us. Just really shows the character of Bungi Bunabi. So then he went on to the game against Romania. The documentary didn't go into this, but the game with Romania that really is a race to see how many points they can score. Again against Romania. It is really a competition with Ireland's score that was set in the previous week. I can't remember what exactly it was, but I think South Africa may have scored the same amount of points, but kicked a little bit more goal. Same number of tries, I think it was. Maybe it was one extra try, but the score was pretty close. But overall, I think the difference was might have just been the goal kicking the difference there between the two scores, or maybe it was very, very close. When the score with Romania as opposed to the score with Ireland's score against Romania. So I thought that was a little bit interesting how the two teams are basically using Romania as like a measuring stick on how this game is going to go in the actual matchup. There was a lot of pride from the Ireland team, number one team in the world. There was Grand Slam champions, and with Johnny Sexton back, truly like the best Irish player ever in the history of Ireland, like hands down. Like I don't care what people say, Johnny Sexton was Johnny Sexton was just unbelievable for Ireland. You wouldn't understand how good he has been. And apparently it was last time the Springboks had beaten Ireland was in 2006. Now this was a little bit misleading stats. The two team really hasn't played that much since 2006. I'm pretty sure there was maybe one or two games played in Ireland that was lost. And then there really hasn't played much since 2006. And the few games they did play were in Ireland, and Springboks didn't win those ones. So there was a discussion off the bench, as always, from the Springboks. They want to put on 7-1 on the bench for this one. The discussion was the fact that because they want to dominate the scrummaging, and they felt that, having Trevor Nyakani, Oxencha, and Dion Fourie, they were already talking about having Dion Fourie in the hooker position in this game. Having Dion Fourie, Trevor Nyakani dominated scrummaging in the second half. They need fresh legs behind them. They can't just do it on themselves. And they really emphasized the need to have John Klein and Achie Snyman to be fresh off the bench with Huaga Smith to back up the scrummaging to really get that dominance that they are looking for. And I thought this was really, really just, again, the mind game from Rassie Rasmus is truly from Dr. Rassie Rasmus, I'm sorry, truly the next level. He really recognizing that Achie Snyman and John Klein play a lot of rugby in Ireland. Actually, Achie Snyman didn't play the match in Ireland. He's based in Ireland. He didn't actually play it so much because he was injured for pretty much like 4 years or something. Almost 4 years, for like 3 years or so. But still, they're teammates. They watch the team play all the time. Obviously, John Klein literally played for Ireland in 2019 Rugby World Cup. So this was just another level of mind games that Rassie Rasmus is not just playing with his own team, but playing with Ireland. If you have a history with people on the field, you will play harder. And that is, the mindset that Rassie Rasmus had going into the game, having these players off the bench as well, just fresh and ready to pounce on their former teammates. There was a short bit where they talked about the All Blacks match, even the warm-up for the Qatar Airways MBS Saudi Oil Cup, and that was first of all, that was the best performance I've ever seen from the Springboks ever. Okay, it doesn't matter if they won the Rugby World Cup final, they beat France. That was the most clinical performance from the Springboks. I'm pretty sure in that game, man in the block got 100% of the goal kicking as well. So that was as perfect as you can ever played from the Springboks side in that warm-up match against the All Blacks. And the scrum was so dominant in that match. The All Black scrum was disintegrated. Like, it was so impressive. And, there was a lot of, and that was the first time actually the Springboks tested the 7-2 scrum. Sorry, not 7-2 scrum, the 7-2 bench. And there was a lot of people, again, criticizing Springboks for this. What's his name? Matt Williams, is his name? Matt Williams? I don't know his name. The Aussie guy that in Ireland, just disgraceful stuff coming out of his mouth, saying that Springboks can get karma to them. People are going to get injured because there's too much forwards coming off the bench. It's professional rugby. If you can't handle it, don't play. You can just concede. Withdraw from the Rugby World Cup if you can't handle it. It's professional rugby. It's like, saying John Olongu should be banned because he was too big as a winger. It's professional rugby, okay? If you're on the, it's just absurd, the stuff that came out of this guy's mouth. It was just absolute hogwash. And, and then Rassie fed onto a lot of this negativity from the Irish side, and he showed off the worst sports show ever on the planet, and that is Off the Ball from Ireland. I used to watch this, and then it just got way too toxic, and I actually stopped. I used to watch, honestly, I used to watch Off the Ball like years ago. I just can't handle it. The bullshit that came out of this show was absolutely disgraceful. And then he basically showed the Off the Ball saying that, South Africans were, steroids or cheats. Just so much disgraceful stuff that they talk about, and really, just smashing the, not just insulting to the South African players, but to the people of South Africa and the fans as well. Just really disgraceful stuff came out of Off the Ball, the show from Ireland, the pundits, and the Rassie Rasmus talked about why he did this. Talked about, being emotional. You can only motivate a player for, 5-10 minutes, but being personal, that's going to last for 80 minutes. So if you're personally involved, engaged in the result, you have a personal vendetta against somebody, you will go the full 80 minutes to get it done. But if you just emotionally wanted to do something, you're only going to get, 10, 20 minutes out of the players. So again, the doctorate psychology that was in use here by Rassie Rasmus was just unbelievable. And then they talked about, opportunity, privilege, and pressure, right? There's a saying in All Blacks, pressure is a privilege. By the Springboks saying that, opportunity is a privilege and it is the part of the pressure, right? So they talk about the privilege of having the opportunity, a little bit different from what the All Blacks talk about, which is the emphasis more about the handling the pressure. They talk about how Dion Fourie finally gonna get his opportunity at 37 years of age to play for the Springboks, and we know how that went. He played pretty much the full final match, almost full 80 minutes, 77 minutes as a hooker. So like incredible for him because Malcolm Marx was injured to really getting a prominent spot for the Springboks. Really started to have to take up the heavy lifting here. And then going to this game, they're hanging out the jerseys, and the mindset emphasized by Rassie Rasmus was aggression. And interestingly, the white jersey with the teal green collar and the teal green sleeve rims is actually the second away jersey. So the first away jersey actually had like teal stripes on over it, and I guess that's just too close to the light green from the Irish team. They have to get another away jersey for this one. So this was just like a pure white jersey essentially. And I was just like, yeah, it's just baffling. I mean, if you're going to have a pure white jersey, why can't the collar just be, gold, or, the gold color that you normally have around the collar? Why does it have to be the teal color? Which is just like mind-boggling why they even decided on that color for the Springboks, especially at a huge event at the Rugby World Cup. Anyway, the game was underway, and there was a moment where Damien de Allende ran over Johnny Sexton, and the documentary didn't actually go into that too much. It just showed a replay of it. I remember watching this live. I thought, honestly, my heart skipped a bit. I thought Johnny Sexton was done because he had a history of concussions. He had, and his any sort of injury to his shoulder or even a concussion, it would be the end for him for the Rugby World Cup, and it'll be so heartbreaking. I think a lot of Irish fans probably skipped a bit on the heart as well when they saw that, because that was a brutal run by Damien de Allende straight through Johnny Sexton, and Johnny just went straight down, and and that was yeah, and he got back up and then went on to defend the try line, and stopping the Springboks from scoring, and later on taking a nice run for himself, setting up Ireland for a chance to score the try. Just truly, really, Johnny Sexton was just, just truly like just a warrior. It doesn't matter what you say. All people, there's a lot of criticism levied against him, but you really have to recognize this guy for just how tough and just how I don't know, like just how much respect you really do have for this guy. And the Ireland team, it doesn't matter what you say. I have no doubt would not be number one. I have no doubt they won't be number one team in the world if it wasn't for Johnny Sexton. Last year going to the Rugby World Cup, he was unbelievable. And yeah, and that moment I thought was just quite a interesting moment. Anything, a concussion. He had long-term concussion issues, and for like a number of years where he was just hanging on a thread, and any concussion, he would have been done for basically his career. And I thought that was a moment where really looked like he was down, and then he got back up, and I think he got back up for Ireland, and that's the spirit that Johnny Sexton brings to the Irish team, and that is probably the difference in the end in the scoreline as well, right? And then Johnny Sexton set up the try for the Irish team, creating a space out wide, and I thought it was a bit ironic. The first person to score a try in this game against the Springboks is an Australian. What's the name? Mac Hansen went in the corner. And it was pretty frustrating. You can see for the Springboks, a bit of lack of focus. There was a fair bit of drop balls everywhere. And and Rassie Rasmus was not happy. He was saying that players didn't take it seriously enough. And half time. Second half, the Bomb squad went onto the field, immediately getting the penalty. Cheslin Kobe scores in the corner. There was a bit of a mouthing off between Damien Willems, the greatest Springbok in history of the Springboks, with the greatest Irish in the history of Ireland. Not just a rugby player, greatest Irish. Johnny Sexton. The two had a bit of introduction to each other, exchanged a few business cards on the field there, and the game carried on. So the goal kicking was again one sort of big issue in the second half. I think a lot of people tend to forget about this match, is that the Springboks actually had opportunity to win this match, because the Springboks had more opportunity to kick the goals. If they had landed those goals, I think there was a number of missed kicks by by what's his name? By a man in the box, and Faf de Klerk took at least one kick, one or two kicks, I think, from pretty far out, missed as well, and those kicks would have been 100%, pretty much 100% if it was taken by Andre Pollard. So considering like the scoreline was like what, 1 or 2 points of difference, the Springboks could have won this game if it wasn't for the goal kicking, especially going into the last maybe 10, 20 minutes of the game. The Springboks was on the front foot, and Ireland was pretty much just hanging on in there, especially when Johnny Sexton came off. I thought Ireland was just clinching onto their points, and this was, despite the win for the Irish, I thought the July Test series coming up in South Africa, it's not going to be an easy win for Ireland. It's going to be very, very hard for Ireland to win if Rassie Erasmus plays his game plan correctly. By which I mean Rassie Erasmus don't pull on the Springbok C team, right? Like he did against Wales. Okay, if he doesn't do that, I think Ireland will probably going to come out of this one very difficult to win, especially, without Johnny Sexton. Yeah, so anyway, the game was over. Ireland won. There was zombie ringing all around the stadium, and there was a very, I guess a very, I wouldn't say dejected Rassie Erasmus, but it was a very humbling look on Rassie Erasmus' face as he stood on the field looking around the stadium as the song "Zombie" ringing around, and it was just a great, beautiful moment in rugby. I literally broke out into tears a little bit when I watched this when it was live during the game at the during the Rugby World Cup, and and Rassie Erasmus came out and he literally said he think that there was not enough pain, not enough regret on the faces of the players. People hasn't taken this game seriously. And after the match, and the final part of the documentary is Rassie Erasmus having a big, rant to the players. I wouldn't say rant, a big, spiel to the players about their poor performance. And he called the Springboks team fucking clowns. You're adults with children, with mums that worry about you. Dad's proud about you. Lighty that looks up to you. I'm pretty sure Lighty refers to Francois Stang, right? Right? So he's saying that Francois Stang was looking up to them from home because he couldn't be here at the Rugby World Cup because he retired just before the Rugby World Cup. But yeah, I guess he's trying to say that be privileged that you are here and some people couldn't make it because they're having lower joints issues. So the Lighty is watching it from home, and he said that you might. He went on to say that he did not see you enjoy and proud to play for the Springboks. He said, for fuck's sakes, we want to be the number one in the world. What the fuck is going on with you? Have you become bigger than the game? Yeah. And then he went to some very brutal assessment. He said, I promise you, Siya Kolisi is not the biggest thing in South Africa. South Africa is the biggest thing in South Africa. Just really humbling statements. And he finally said, ended with, you pretend you will die for your country, but it's false. You won't die for your country. You will not. Yeah, very, very, very brutal from Rassie Erasmus trying to get the team down to the earth. And like I said, I think this was the motivation the Springboks needed to get themselves back onto the winning ways, back in the right mentality. And very, very interesting episode. And this is the final review for the whole series. Let me know your thoughts, guys. Like, comment, and subscribe. Thanks anyone who supports me financially. And I'll see you guys at the Rugby Championship.